Hello everyone. So just wanted to make a quick video about migrating from Unity to Unreal Engine, um, highlighting some of the misconceptions and misunderstanding of some certain features, some certain things, and there's a almost like fixed mindset that prevents you to getting some of the mechanics, some of the systems right, uh, because basically it's like when you working in 3ds Max and you migrate to Blender, you don't try to use the hotkeys from 3ds Max and Blender because it's obviously not going to work. So there's a few quick and basic things that you have to understand while trying out the Unreal Engine, its systems, and all of the stuff. Basically, you download the Epic Games Launcher, and in here you have a tab called Unreal Engine. You have a marketplace, you have a library, and in here you install your engine. You can install the older versions, for example. You can pick which version you would start as a default. You have your projects, and you have your content in your library. One of the good things is when you go to Marketplace, the Epic Games giving away free assets like every month. And it's not like crappy and bad assets. It's a permanently giveaway of free and really good and valuable assets. Multiplayer melee combat, Pilot's Hall and stuff like this. So it's really kind of nice and valuable. So I recommend to at the beginning of each month, go and check out if there's something interesting, something new. So we have some example project open right now. And one of the key things that all the Unity users do not understand and basically try to do instantly is trying to go to C++. You do not, absolutely do not need a C++ to make games in Unreal Engine. I mean, it's not mandatory. You do need C++ if you want to build your custom plugins with some kind of really specific functional and stuff like this. You might want a C++ if you have like thousands of actors and you want them to be really performant and do something specific. You may want a C++ if you kind of working on a sort of a AAA project, and you want everything to be like really performant and stuff. But for like almost absolutely all the cases, the blueprints is really enough, and it does the job perfectly, and it's absolutely okay. So it's a quick project that I've set up, trying to make some additions to the racing game template. And when you start your kind of blank project or anything kind of like this, you usually start with a default open world level. It has a landscape, it has a world partition setup. You can have like a basic level, you can have a completely empty level. So let's go with the basic, for example. Here we have a basic level, and the basic things about navigation and stuff like this is you hold right mouse button to look around, WASD to fly around, spacebar and stuff like this. Usually goes up and down in the play mode. So I use layout like this because basically you have to open up the content browser, the outliner where all your scene content is located. It's more comfortable for me because it's like a maximized scene view. So first useful thing is a G key because it allows you to hide all the kind of icons, all the stuff. Like, I don't know, if you have some sort of a collision setup, I don't know, audio volume, and stuff like this. And when you want to look at your scene as like it's good, how it's going to be in the game, you press the G key and you hide all the stuff. You can also maximize your viewport by pressing F11. So it's almost like a full screen. Okay, so here we have our different viewports and different cameras if you have some. So for example, let's place a camera camera actor. So as you can see, you can switch to your camera actor in here. Right now, I'm piloting the camera actor, so I move this. As I move the view, the camera actor moves with it. So I can exit the piloting camera actor, and now you see it's looking in other direction. Okay. Here's like lit, unlit mode, wireframe, stuff like this, and a couple of really useful things is optimization visualizers. Light complexity, light map density, stuff like this. Level of details, buffer realizations, all this stuff is really useful when you try to uh, look at your project and see what's going on. Another useful thing is basically what is a lot of people try to do instantly is get to the play mode. So you press play and you kind of playing. You have a kind of default controller that has a collision, so you cannot go through the landscape and through the object and stuff like this. And escape, stop the play mode. So if you want to adjust something during the play mode, you can press Shift F1, and here you have your mouse cursor, so you can navigate menus, debug some certain things, and stuff like this. If you want to, there's a really cool feature in Unreal Engine. So, for example, I've created, I don't know, some physical object, like a sphere. I made it simulate physics. So when I press play, it's kind of simulating physics. But if, for example, my game starts something over here and I want to look what's going on in here, and I don't have to press play each time starting over here and flying out here. There's a cool thing in Unreal Engine called simulation. So basically, it's like playing the game without you actually playing it. So you more like an observer, like more like a spectator in this kind of situation. Okay, here we have our settings, scalability settings, and basically out of the box, Unreal Engine performed really well on my GTX 1060. So it's not like you have to have like RTX or like 3070 or 4090 and stuff like this. It's not mandatory and perfectly fine to build for mobile devices and stuff like this. So all the settings, all the stuff can be configured to work on any kind of software. You have a platforms section in here, and you can configure it for Linux, for iOS, for Android, and it's totally fine. So it's not like it's AAA and all that stuff. And all the rendering features, such as motion blur, such as light shaft and stuff like this, can be easily turned off when you kind of go to a rendering section, and all of the stuff is here. Or it can be like situationally turned off by post-process volume. So basically, you drop in your post-process volume, something over here, and set it up to, I don't know, go to color grading, the contrast, image effects, depth of fields, lens flare, local exposure. Oh, exposure. For example, let's take an exposure, and we can take manual exposure and, for example, make it really low. So when I enter this post-process volume, it's shut down my exposure, and it takes time for automatic exposure to roll back to its normal values. Okay. The next important thing is the blueprints. So basically, you do not need, as I said already, you do not need C++ to do stuff in the engine. The blueprints is finally absolutely enough to make some certain things. For example, here I open my content browser, and Blueprint is somewhat similar to the prefab in Unity. So I can create some stuff. I can create materials, levels, particle systems, animations, and stuff like this. So Blueprint class, it's a basic thing. I can make an actor. For example, I need a door or some sort, and I want to wanted to be placed on the level and do its job. The pawn is basically is like a character in Unreal Engine. The pawn is something you take control of, and the pawn can be a car, a character, I don't know, a city or some stuff. The character itself as a pawn has its kind of logic plugged in. So basically, it can have a movement logic, can have like a racing logic and stuff like this. So the control player controller is the thing that controls the pawn. So uh, in a multiplayer game, for example, you can have like a multiple player controllers of each player, and for each player, and each player takes control of a certain pawn by a player controller. So that's basically like an overview. The game mode is something that kind of contains all the rules, all the settings for your current level, for your current play mode. So all the settings for it you can see here in world settings. If you don't have it for some reason, you can open up the window, and here you have like a few outliners, few content browsers, viewports, and also world settings in here. So basically, in world settings, you can set up different game modes as you like. You can create your own, and in each game mode, you have like certain things set up. Which pawn do you use by default? Which player controller do you use by default? Which player state do you use by default, and stuff like this. So um, one of the other things is a player start. So player start is basically it's a spot when your game begins. So if I move it somewhere over here, and I if I click simulate, the player pawn will spawn in here in this particular spot, but I will not be spawned in it. I will be over here when I left. So if I select player selected viewports, I spawn in the player start place. No matter where I'm located right now, if I click play, I always spawn here. Um, there are a few more quite useful things in here because Unreal Engine have a really good multiplayer, built-in multiplayer mode. So I can spawn like 2 players, for example, and select play standalone, playing as a license server, play as a client. If I say play as a client, you can see it launches the game with its server and its client as a separate uh, window, as a separate game instance. So basically, it's really helpful to debug some certain things, but you have to obviously get your pawn set up with the replication stuff. So the blueprints. Let's create some example actor, new blueprint, and when you open it up, it's pretty much like a prefab in Unity. So you have your event graph, and that's what's going on. Begin play is thing that's fires when your actor is gets instanted in your level. So where the game begins for this actor in particular. Event tick is like an update. It's a thing that fires every frame. So for example, the most basic thing is to print. So um, print string hello. So then you have to have to push compile and save, and basically the more useful is save and compile, because if you have some compilation errors or engine crashes for some reason, you do not lose your changes. So save compile. Now when you drag the object into your level, let's start with simulate hello, a debug message, and when you plug it in to event tick, for example, you'll get, by the way, you don't have to always press compile. You can just do some changes and then press play. As you can see, each frame it prints hello. And what's really useful is you can see the flow. So you can see how your logic works in the Unreal Engine. So basically, it's quite useful for debugging because basically you don't have to like imagine all this stuff here. You don't have to virtualize all the links, all the variables, all the stuff in your head because you can see it right away. Okay, so you can add some certain variables. It can be Boolean, it can be float, it can be anything, any kind of structure. You can make your own structures or like data assets or something like this and make it as a variable. You can make a level as a variable. It's um, not like something really hard. So, for example, what can we do? We can take a variable and make a delay like 4 seconds. And after delay, if we drag it over here, we can get the variable or set the variable. We'll set this variable to true. And in here, we can get this variable. And when we drag it to print, it translates the boolean to the string value, and it will print the value of this variable. So, for example, if we press play right now, let's have a look what will happen in here. So, in 4 seconds, this event will fire. This node will fire. So let's press play. As you can see, it's false, false, false. It's fired, and now it's true, true, true. So it's a really basic stuff. I don't want to dig in some stuff like the blueprint interfaces or like event dispatchers and stuff like this. So the entire thing is really basic. And what's also really useful is that you can have like different variables, and it's all color coded. So integer is green, light green. Um, the I don't know, skeletal mesh, for example, is a blue, and it's all like more intuitive. So it's logical that you would not like trying to shove the green pin in a blue hole. So it's basically something like this. You can also add the components to your blueprint. For example, let's add a static mesh component. There's lots of stuff in here. The audio components. You can create your own components, and it will be highlighted in this list. So you can add your own component that you do. So I don't know. Let's add like static mesh actor, static mesh component. Sorry, static mesh actor is if you take a static mesh and drop it into your scene, into your level, and you will see in here as a mesh actor exactly. So now our static mesh, as you can see it in a viewport over here, there is none because basically we don't set one. Let's take, I don't know, anything like it's content from the engine. It's a control rig detail. So we do have this static mesh, and right now, if we would look at our blueprint in here, there's some certain static mesh. As you change to another one, I don't know, this one or like something more different, you can see it changes instantly. So basically, that's it. And the next thing you would do is like you go to YouTube, go to tutorials, and try to make some simplistic ideas like make a rollerball game. Try to, I don't know, create a default shooter game and have a look at how it's supposed to work. Have a look at how it's done. Have a look at how the controls are set up and stuff like this. Autosaves is also quite useful because basically it keeps you kind of safe from losing your work because Unreal Engine crashes sometimes. It's not like big problem, but it happens. So yeah, in general, something like this. Try to mm, do not force your like previous engine mindset onto the other engines. It's not necessarily have to be all the same. But really cool thing is the Unreal Engine have lots and lots and lots of systems built in. So it has I don't know, the cable components, the landscape, a really good landscape plugin. So you don't have to write your own components to kind of patch some stuff that your engine doesn't have out of the box. So it's like physics volumes, it's like cinematic cameras and many things over here. That's workflow for cinematics, workflow for animation. You can animate inside the Unreal Engine. You can model inside the Unreal Engine. So basically, uh, you have all of this stuff. So what you do is like you go to uh, YouTube and have a look at like Unreal Engine 5 modeling or Unreal Engine 5 foliage, Unreal Engine 5 landscape and stuff like this, and brush editing, animation. So yeah, it's really kind of, it's not like clumsy in terms of like component stuff. It's really useful because basically when you take uh, any kind of certain component, uh, you can see that it's was really thought out. So I don't know. Let's take our blueprint for example. Um, the fastest way is to go to Outliner and and click Edit New Blueprint. Okay, so I don't know, the spring arm, for example. This is the thing to kind of, you attach your camera to it, and it's deals with a collision, it deals with a camera lag and stuff like this. And as you can see, there's plenty of settings that basically covers almost all of the requests that you might have on these components. So it's really useful, and basically everything is like this. So it's not like we do have the system, but it can do almost nothing. It's really kind of not suited to be used in, I don't know, multiplayer games, physics-based games, first-person games and stuff like this. It's all works really well in all cases and all scenarios, and it's really thought out, and it's way better than some plugins that you can get from the asset store. That's basically some student made in his free time, and it's not like top tier programmer, so it has some issues. And there's this feeling when you open up someone's project and instantly having a ton of errors, ton of red text or some in your output log. So this doesn't happen to Unreal usually. So really kind of cool and nice engine to work with. So basically something like this. And you notice, you're welcome. We waited you for quite a while. Bye.